There's a super from Hamodi who said prediction time, or Humadi, prediction time. Azeroth will be a retroactive mistranslation from Azeroth.
Yep.
It's how expected bad side juggler will be.
Yeah.
So on that, they'll probably tie the Zareth thing in a little bit, but I wouldn't say. I guess at most, I think they'll do it in the way that, like in Halo 3, you go to the Ark, which is like the center of the system of all of the Halo installations. So I could see it that like Azeroth is the center. So Zareth means like keystone, I think, per Grimoire of the Shadowlands. Yeah. The idea of Azeroth being kind of like this, well, the Zareth's the the center of the centers, right? Like something like that could actually make sense. Now, as for where Azeroth originally came from, it was either connected to Azathoth, the blind idiot god,
it definitely wasn't
demon sultan of. Well, see, there's a lot of like Lovecraft shoved in there, but also
it could be
significantly more literally. There's also the book Fires of Azeroth.
Yeah, I think
a fantasy novel,
which is also like Fires of Azeroth isn't just that's interesting. That's the same name. Nah, there's a lot of similarities. They yoinked that shit. I think there's even like the Dark Portal stuff is all in Fires of Azeroth. And like that shit was probably, hopefully subconsciously, but that shit was yoinked like hell.
Well, listen to this. So, Fires of Azeroth is a 1979 novel by C.J. Serif. It is, it's the third of 4 books comprising the Morgraine series, chronicling the quest that drives an obsessed Morgraine and her warrior companion ever onward. Plot summary. The gates are passageways through space and time that if misused destroy entire civilizations. Such cataclysms had happened in the past, most recently to the Khal, a species that one time enslaved other races, including humans. And I'm sure it then all, becomes a little bit more different. But the whole like fantasy setting with kind of like worlds and portals.
Yeah, I mean that's not exactly super uncommon, but
I'm not against that. Like one of my favorite things, like ever, is the Battlestar Galactica reimagining, and it obviously takes a few nods from Homeworld video game. Like I think very obviously, I think most people think very obviously. So that's fine. I'm totally okay with that. But yeah, there's a few things there like. You obviously have Fires of Azeroth, Morgraine series, and then people then think of Azathoth. Azathoth.
Yeah, that's where people were suggesting Azathoth because of... I'll tell you something. It's because Azathoth was the... Let me get my brain straight for a second. The recontextualization of the Black Empire is maybe not a bad thing, or there's more that we understand. Or more to it than we understand because Odin ordered all the documents thrown in the bin. Hang on, Blizzard. You did that in real life. Anyway, the idea that maybe the old gods didn't show up. Maybe they're there the whole time. Or maybe like it was more, Azeroth was more aspected of Void. And we're getting like revisionist history from Chronicle.
Yeah.
It's also interesting. The Chronicle is utterly bullshit in terms of canon now. In a lot of ways. And they're actually kind of making that line up in game by making the Odin and the Titans all revisionist fuckers, so that kind of lines up a little bit from a Titan perspective bullshit. Nice.
Even some of these lines, right? Yeah. Those daring to oppose the elder gods who ruled from Beetlejuice, the great old ones who fought against the elder gods, were instructed by Azathoth, who is the blind idiot god, and by Yog Sothoth.
Yeah.
I mean, like we've always known the old gods are like super obviously Lovecraft inspired.
Yeah. I mean, look at Shathyar, like.
Yeah, it is just interesting. So basically, like the kind of thought is that maybe Sagittarius A, which is the supermassive black hole, the center of our galaxy, like kind of is Azathoth. So again, that gives you that idea of it being central. So I think a lot of that stuff could come in with Azeroth. They just need to do it right. I think it would be interesting if we find out that Azeroth is not a Titan, that maybe Argus isn't even a Titan. Maybe we find out that...
Titan World Souls aren't Titans.
World Souls aren't Titans.
That's it. That's literally it.
Amenthul does something to them. Like, there's a lot of things like that, as an example.
Yeah.
Within Uldorus, also known as Tearshold, which is the like big sort of settlement Titan thing in the Dragon Isles, they have the Halls of Infusion, which infuse order magic.
Yep.
Now, if they're infusing order magic into the World Soul, does that basically mean that the World Soul represents potentiality and raw strength? And it's like, what direction does this get molded in? So it's significantly less a case of, oh no, Void will corrupt Azeroth when the tentacles get in. It's far more what cosmic force will be able to kind of shape that being. Almost, what's the Pokemon that can turn into like any Pokemon? The little
Ditto.
You're basically Azeroth is Ditto.
I think you're probably better to think of it more as Eevee.
Okay, that's
because
better.
You've got the different elemental influences that a Ditto. But yeah, you're right. It's whatever way you raise an Eevee. Does it become? In this case, does it become? I guess with Arcane, does it become Espeon or does it become Umbreon? If we're to use Arcane and Void as comparisons.
I'm so happy you pulled Eevee into this. I feel like that's going to really make it click with people. That's fucking great.
Yeah.
Well, there you go, Matt. We've just worked it out.
Yeah, they're just Pokemon. Sweet.
So
Azeroth
if
is just an
the
Eevee.
next package from Blizzard does contain Anthrax, we'll know. If this is our last broadcast ever, you know we're right. Well,
considering how litigious Nintendo are, I suppose it's Game Freak. Game Freak aren't that. Are Game Freak that litigious? No, there's... Oh, no, they did. Did they not try to take down a load of... oh my god, what's it called? Nuzlocke stuff? Because they thought it was something else and they're completely fucking wrong.
Oh, wow.
I don't know. Anyway, yeah, that would make sense.
So we've got a... Unless you have another point for...
all this story doesn't really feel very good. It's cool to think about, but it doesn't feel very good when you're playing because it's not actually super tied into the world or anything you're doing. It's all just... This is all... Like, you've got the whole world of gameplay and then there's like one point which is the villain and things you're doing. And that's like all of this effort is in this one point of the overall experience. And that's why it feels like we're spending so much time talking about that stuff. Doesn't work out. Where they can fix that is by going through and making things in the world actually evolve and making things feel, I think, overall personal to the entire adventure, entire journey. And that's where...
Actually, no, this may be the thing you were going to say, so continue.
Yeah. No, I
don't just fucking point steal.
I was going to say it's the idea of... contextualizing the entirety of a race or the entirety of your journey as a whole big thing of you've come to this point and all this stuff has personally affected you and it's been part of everything you've done has led up to this point that is this and that's why it's important.
Okay. So to follow on and kind of finish the point, that is literal in a way in Shadow or Dragon Isles because we go there with the Explorers Guild and the Reliquary joining up. Yeah. Which makes it completely natural for any of this. And I guess what I was thinking of is if they want to make this feel good, like this lore feels good when we read Odin's DMs and see like a weird Titan report and like some ancient stone tablet. Like what were those? The dead. You just find the Dead Sea Scrolls and you're like, what the fuck is this? What's going on? Like
fuck the Akashic records.
That is genuinely cool shit, right?
Yeah.
You hear about grand, like in real life, even grand cities of the past, to whom like some of their old history of past civilizations and cities wasn't like the people who were around, before the Sea Peoples came in and ravaged everybody. They would have thought to Sargon of Akkad, not that one, the actual one, like as being far enough in their past as Julius Caesar is in our past, and like that makes you think like, whoa, oh yeah. They were at the bleeding edge of civilization at their time. Yeah. So I suppose if Blizzard can do this, through characters like Bran Bronzebeard, right?
Yeah.
And that, we're finding tablets with Bran. I think what they need is if they want to make all this shit actually stick, they need to find the right bucket that they can reliably put it in so that they can reliably tell this story over time while also having nice character arcs. And I guess... Bran? Everyone likes Bran Bronzebeard.
Yeah, I think the way to explain it is I think we need to be individual explorers doing individual small things that ultimately means we're almost like the fly in the... we're almost like a fly that's like flicking the right switches or being in the right place in time. Like the butterfly flapping its wings that like intently, of course, not accidentally, that unravels all of this like ancient mystery and ancient plan. especially if we get to go through, and this isn't like we need to go through the Black Empire and, oh, it's a full expansion of exploring all the Black Empire, but if we can, like, logically explore, and yeah, I would put it into archaeology, yes, Pernasec, yeah, archaeology would be a great way to do this, but you want to have us explain or explore how the Black Empire actually was, and us to have to learn that, and get that feel of Azeroth. And that's one of the things where, we'll talk about this a little bit again later, but one of the things that's both exciting and terrifying about Dragonflight as a story concept is that they talked about wanting to go, hey, so we're very tired now of everyone being very angry at all us making future things. So just to get a bit of a change, we're going to go and flesh out World of Warcraft's history, because you like the past, don't you weirdos? And to me, that's the entire history between the War of the Ancients and now. There are so many questions. And one of the most interesting questions that they seem to be tunneling in on is that of humans. That of what happened to the Titans creations. How did they get to not be the Titans creations anymore? How did they become children of Azeroth instead? How and why and what does that mean? And I think if they do that correctly, they'll be very, very interesting overall. It's just about will they be able to actually manage that in the limited storytelling just they have. Although I did see someone, I believe it was Dakar was telling me about this, and he was saying that there was, I think it was data mined the chapter titles for all of the Dragonflight story. I haven't seen them.
I haven't not seen them.
I wouldn't look at them anyway intentionally at this point. But like basically half of them are leveling, the other half are not leveling, which means there's hopefully a decent amount of story things to actually happen. Because I was thinking the leveling Dragonflight story, if it ends there and we do nothing till raid, that'll be terrible. But
seemingly not.
But it doesn't seem to be that terrible. Let's see. There's something on this one. Yeah, Space Trunk says, last time I watched a stream like this, everyone was dumping on Blizzard Redding. Did something change in the meantime? So, there's a little bit of yes and a little bit of no. The writers are still the same, and they seem to have learned a couple of decent lessons in terms of what's going on. But the fundamental difference is that they've seemingly noticed that whenever they do anything too grand and cosmic, they get a hypothetical or a metaphorical kick in the face. So they don't do that so much anymore. They're pulling back to talk about dragons, which people like, and exploring those stories in ways that feels a little bit Cataclysm retconny, just because it's going, the Age of Dragons is over. Oh, the Age of Dragons is back. But
retcon the fuck out of Cataclysm. You have my fucking permission.
Yeah, that wasn't a very good story overall. So it's like there are new developments, as Burnto says, and the way that they're doing similar things, but it's taking up a smaller portion of the conversation, seems to be like generally good. Like the Odin stuff that we're going to talk about, or the Odin stuff we talked about before, and the new stuff we're going to talk about with Kaz Algar is because it's tied to existing stuff and there's a lot of themes that kind of match okay. It's not all brand new. Some of it does tie into stuff we actually know. And
yes,
that's not
like
all of it.
Expansion of our knowledge rather than a replacement.
Yeah, exactly that. And another thing is, and this is literally it, right? I'm gonna have to say this. We have not seen any major character arcs in Dragonflight.
No.
So far, that is a good thing, because every major character arc and story they tried to tell in Shadowlands was underwritten and ultimately garbage and had no supremely core theme at the end of it, because things kind of happened for no reasons and there seemed to be stuff cut out of it. I think to a lot of people, with the finale of it, you can kind of understand the themes behind Tyrande stuff, but people just didn't like it very much.
Yeah. And
the same with Sylvanas. That was very clearly, that would have been fine if they had explored it, which they did in the novel, but they didn't in the game, which is a big problem. You know, Christy Golden did all the heavy lifting for that story, which clearly was a good story, just wasn't told properly, which makes it a bad story in terms of user experience. So we haven't had anything like that that's terrible. That's why there's a little bit of a change in how the conversation's happening, because, you know, they have not yet shot the bed.
Yeah, exactly.
That is still a complete potentiality with all of the characters in Dragonflight. It's just we haven't seen enough of that to judge. I will say that the writing of the quests and side quests and stuff as a whole feels substantially improved from Shadowlands.
Azeroth Mortis lessons.
Yeah, and there's some stuff more lessons. I was actually replaying some of the Shadowlands side questing in Ardenweald, and it's a little bit better than I know this is going to be Get ready for, I saw the post on r/wow. Get ready for the newest underrated expansion of World of Warcraft, Shadowlands, because it's over. And there's a couple of things in like the execution of side quests, quite nice. It's just that you didn't have a reason to give a shit about any of the zones or anything like that.
Often the side quests are better than the main quest because the side quest just gets to be someone's darling.
Yeah,
whereas the main quest is just some big too many cooks disaster.